Okay, when I
Yeah,
come out,
I'm there, sir. Yeah, hi.
you're coming up. Okay,
Yeah. Hi, very good
fantastic.
afternoon to all. Yeah.
Okay, so
Uh,
thank you, Biju. So very quick introduction.
yes, sir.
Biju is a seasoned expert for 20 years of experience in market intelligence, strategy, product marketing, and go-to-market for connected aircraft solutions. So this is something which is very interesting. I would like to hear more. Okay. So he has a strong track record in business development, mergers and acquisition, product roadmaps, and also he is recognized as the innovation leader with the 21 USPTO patents, with the GE as a gold medalist. So, Bijuji, so thank you for joining us session today. I would like to hear your insights, and our participants definitely will like the airline industry best practices. So thank you. So
Thank you, sir.
quick
Please
note
let
is,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
your screen is visible. Only thing is when you share, yeah, now it is fantastic. You can
Okay.
continue.
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to thank you, Abdul Qadir, sir, for this opportunity to present my views on the aviation supply chain challenges, the trends and the opportunities globally. I would be discussing on what exactly is happening in the industry and how the industry players are reacting to it, or they are taking some strategies, the best practices. I have some examples also to start with, since you have already spoken about me. Yeah. So next 30 to 40 minutes, I will be discussing on how this evolution happened in the aviation supply chain in last 100 years, and what are the key challenges there, key trends there, the opportunities there for different people. Now, it's not only aviation people, but from other industries also people coming, and there are a lot of opportunities which is happening. And what is the innovation helping the aviation supply chain? What is happening in aviation supply chain? What is the disruption happening in aviation supply chain? And then what the companies and players are doing to overcoming these challenges. So some recommendations on that. So this is the crux what I'm going to speak today, and any questions are always welcome. Yeah. So how this has happened, aviation supply chain. Over 100 years, if you see the Wright brothers, when he started flying, this is a very famous picture. Um, where he took his first flight, and they had a bicycle shop, and they made this aircraft with a lot of permutation combinations. They did a lot of things, and Kitty Hawk, the first time it flew, it became a iconic picture. But how they did it, they had a small bicycle shop, and they focused on small items, small things they sourced from there. And then because of that, they did manually. So it was very small. They two very focused people, what they want they knew, they sourced it, they did a lot of innovation there to make things happen. So first thing is, they are very clear what they wanted to do in supply chain. You have to have the scope very clear. So once they started doing it, and from that period, from 19th century to First World War, um, that is the most important thing, because supply chain was confined to the regional market. So if US was fighting the World War One, everything was in the US side. The European side, there was growth that side. So the world was moving in different regional sort of a supply chain. Japanese separately, American separately, German separately. But what has happened in the World War One is that they moved with the Ford's line, the Ford's the car model, the moving assembly line. So first time that happened in the World War One, they started moving in the assembly line. So aircraft started building in the assembly line. So that was the major early innovation happened in the 100 years. During the Second World War, they started manufacturing globally. So a lot of subcontractors, suppliers, they were based in Europe, they were based in London, they were based in Spain, France. Everyone, they collaborated there, and US separately was collaborating. So World War II was another area where a lot of supply chain innovation, supply chain happened in the World War II time. So Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Airbus. Airbus was not that much, but Boeing and Lockheed Martin was very, very good in controlling the production and the raw materials to final assembly. So they were very good at it. They optimized those things. So Second World War was when everything started channelizing, started focusing on every key things to improve, and that is how the World War II last 70 years improved. But what happened in last 20-25 years is even more thing. um, Not only they were focused on regional, they moved global now. So if you see here in India, HAL is a lot of work from Boeing and Airbus is outsourced to HAL in Bangalore. There are a lot of players who are outsourced a lot of work from Airbus, Boeing, Bombardier, all those work, Embraer. So it is built in India now. So they started giving to India, China, Brazil, all small countries. So supplier networks started growing, and it becomes so huge for each aircraft model. As the aircraft model is growing, the supply chain is even growing, the complexity is even growing. So the reliance on the supply chain with different countries, different geographic locations, that is what the complexity they brought. And to solve this complexity, the challenges it brought, the logistic bottlenecks it brought, and a lot of political things also coming into, because different countries, different things. So that was the area where it grew, but things also became, a lot of complication coming in. But what happened is, complexity came, the digital transformation came, so it started solving problems in different way. So ultimately, what has happened is modern supply chain is, getting evolved. It is getting smart, getting more digital, and that's how they are doing. For example, I'm giving you Boeing 787. They have over 50 suppliers and in 135 sites and over, 500,000 parts. How will you do it? It's a huge, gigantic thing. But think about the problem. Think about the stakes. If one thing, critical thing stops, everything, the production line stops, or the supply, or the project timelines go wrong, and that is what affects the airlines, because airlines is the major customers, and it really affects them. So evolution is very simple, started very from a shop to the most complex and most advanced systems in the world. So let me tell you what is the size of this ASC market. So if you see the aviation supply chain market, it is around 334 billion today. And as estimate says, it will grow at around 3%. And by 2029 or 30, it will be around $400 billion. So it's a huge market. Huge market means 400 billion is good, half a trillion around. So if you see that major areas are, North America, Europe, and APAC. But if you see APAC is growing fast. It is the largest now and the fastest growing market, Asia Pacific. So everything in next 15-20 years will be in this area. If you see China, India, Japan, Singapore, all these areas will be more, focused on aviation now, because growth is there, population is growing. A lot of airlines are coming inside, a lot of MRO is coming inside. So everything will go. So what exactly by component, you can see aircrafts as a whole will be a one part, engines will be a one part, avionics or LRU we call it, line replaceable units. And then we have smaller things like ground handling, MROs, supply chain, inventories, and smaller players, part suppliers. There are certain companies who take the old aircrafts, they break it down, and then they take the parts and resell the parts. So part business is also coming, and that is also in the supply chain. So people prefer older parts which have life, and that helps them to bring down their cost. By function, supply chain has procurement, logistics, inventory management, and then other areas, simple risk management and also are there. End users, who all are there? Commercial airlines. All your commercial airlines are a big part. So they are another $700 billion industry, 700 to $800 billion. Military aviation is around $1 trillion. Business aviation is another. And then smaller players like Cessna and small aircrafts, helicopters, all are others are there. But basically, if you see the supply chain, they are tired, like the tier one, like the aircraft manufacturer, like Boeing, Airbus. Then you have the engine manufacturers like GE, Pratt and Whitney, and Rolls-Royce. Then comes your smaller players like Honeywell, Raytheon. They are not smaller, I mean to say they give the tier three parts a lot, like the components, like the black boxes, the FMS and other things. So all those things comes into Megate, Thales, L3 Harris, flight data system. So they give the subcomponents and components, electronic components for the aircraft industry. Then there are a lot of material based companies also there. But these are the major ones, which is, in the ecosystem where you can say that what constitutes the aviation supply chain. It is very complex, and that is what people say is aviation supply chain why it becomes complex is there are smaller, very small parts to very big parts like engines and wings also, and it is very dynamic. So that is one thing which we have to look into. And as and how the population is growing, the need is growing, a lot of aircrafts are coming in, so the system is even developing. There are new regulations and laws coming which is going to change this aviation system. So once the aircraft is made, there comes the MRO. MRO is like maintenance, repair and overhauling. So it maintains those aircrafts, and that is also a separate material where a separate market where it is a $1 billion of digital thing. But if you see, MRO market is $100 billion. But to move that MRO, you have lot of technologies coming in. So you have predictive maintenance, AR, VR, digital twin, artificial intelligence, IoT, 3D. So all these things which is coming to improve the efficiency of maintenance to maintain the aircraft, whereas helping the supply chain also. So all these technologies, what you see in the technology zone is interrelated. One is on the production side, the other is maintenance of aircraft, and third is supply chain. To maintain, you need components, you need services, you need everything. So to maintain that, there is a lot of technologies, and then its application also. How do you manage that, like parts replacement, mobility, functionality, cyber security, inspection, everything comes into that. So everything will be in these two areas. So it is interrelated. Supply chain cannot be in isolation. It has to be digitally motivated, digitally transparent, digitally secure, and then improve the efficiencies coming in. So um, the whole ecosystem will be, it cannot be separate. It has to be intertwined. It has to be more understanding of each other so that they can leverage and give benefits to the stakeholders like airlines and OEMs. Now, it becomes very difficult. It's so big, but where do you start? How do you understand, what is affecting your supply chain? So there are disruptors which is coming. So one is very big is like supply chain disruption is COVID or anything which can impact the industry or halt the industry. So if you see 9/11, that was one thing which affected the industry, changed the total aviation industry. Then COVID pandemic, which has come now recently in 2019, it impacted the aviation. Everything stopped. The skilled labor was stopped. Critical parts were not there. Production schedules was affected. Everything stopped. So these type of events, it will something else will come in next 5-10 years. But what it will come and how are you ready to impact or ready to hold that thing there? So that is one area where you have to understand big disruptions where you can see that nothing gets affected. The second thing is demand. So suddenly what has happened after COVID, the demand skyrocketed. Everyone wants to fly, and this emotional thing that I want to fly before I die, that has even increased the numbers, and that has helped airlines to grow, but they have given pressure to the airline like Boeing, airline suppliers like Boeing or Airbus. Their backlogs got, they can make only 700 aircrafts a year, but the backlogs are huge. Even from India, if you see 500 aircraft from Tata's, 498 aircraft from Indigo. So these people are ordering like anything, but how will you give that? Supply chain has a lot of constraints, especially aircraft where there is a lot of critical materials, critical systems. So they cannot overthrow. There are certifications also. You cannot make and give tomorrow. All the components has to be certified also. So this demand also has a problem. So that is also a disruption in terms. The third most important thing is war, and this has impacted aviation industry very badly. So if you see the war in Ukraine, that has changed the total supply chain of titanium alloys. So that has really affected the aviation. US China trade war, that has increased the tariff. So component which were cheaper earlier has become costly. Chip shortages also has a lot of electronic components, chips. That is a big issue for aviation, not only in aviation, every other thing. So if your semiconductor chips are not available, most of the systems can't work. So that is a big supply chain issue now. So these challenges, what we see has, let's go a little bit more like supply chain fragmentation, because now the supply chain has so much divided. it is putting a lot of, everybody doesn't want to do everything. They want to do one part of it. Let's say I want to do fasteners, or I want to do LRU, I want to do. So what has happened, they become so specialized, if something happens to their systems or their supply chain, the whole thing gets into issue. There is also a financial strain because you take a lot of material in advance and a lot of payment issues happens, and that becomes a problem. Then what we see is, diverse suppliers, and that is a big issue because you have diverse suppliers, but you have to have a platform to manage them. Otherwise it is very difficult. Different types of laws, different types of rates, different types of contract management, so many things. So that becomes a problem, and it creates inefficiencies, and that affects the uh, supply chain a lot. Geopolitical tensions, I told you, like the Indo-China war also. If you see US-China trade war, if you see uh, Ukraine war. Now, the other big thing is near the Middle East. So what is happening? A lot of our material comes from the European region, and it comes from the Red Sea. And if anything happens in the Red Sea, that also gets affected. So these smaller things also, gets into a bigger issues, because supply chain is a movement. If a movement is stopped, all the things are going to be affected. The labor shortages and skill gap. So this is very, very critical, because as you see Europe, the aging thing is happening there. Their workforces are getting older, and new workforces are not getting trained fast. So they have insufficient training programs, growing gaps in the skills, and this affects the production. And so that is why a lot of work is transferring to India and China, and nearby areas. So that is a big area. So they are try to solve it, but aging workforce is going to be a big issue. Regulatory pressures, because there are a lot of regulations happening, the taxes, the tariffs, and now they are putting the green taxes also. So Corsia is coming in. So a lot of things will change in manufacturing. You cannot manufacture the same way with higher CO2 footprint. So you have to reduce your footprint. And volatility, because the demands are fluctuating because of these disruptions. So demand forecasting is very, very difficult now. So if the demand forecasting is not correctly done, then the factories, then the big players, they will have always problem. If you see, if G is not able to deliver engines to Airbus or Boeing schedule goes thing, and then it will go to the lessors, it will go to the airline, their financials become problem. So always remember that it is a cyclic thing, and there are three major things which will always affect in supply chain. One is quality, the quantity, and the time. So you want all the three: quality the best, quantity in the right numbers, and the time in which in the right time that it should come. Otherwise, if it comes very late, you are already in red. So this is a very big thing to manage in three dimensions. So key trends, this is very interesting, because what people now, you have seen the problems now. Now, like, what are the solutions, or what are people doing? So this slide talks about that. So what has happened is, as fragmentation happened, Boeing and Airbus, they have sourced the critical materials. So they started having separate companies and separate entities to maintain that supply chain. So that is happening. So they have a very good platforms with them, which is managing that. They are having very good teams which manages the supply chain. They forecast, they have the right alternatives for every issue. So that is what they are doing. Second thing is digital transformation. Digital transformation means they are managing everything in digitally. So they have a lot of digital platforms with, like Airbus, they're having Skywise platform. They have special modules in that to manage the supply chain. Even global services from Boeing, they have it. Honeywell, they have done a global search chain, resilience also, adopting digital technologies to manage risk and improve efficiency. So this is very good things which they have. They call it Honeywell Forge. And these three people, they have made platforms, and they are helping the smaller players also to use these platforms. They can sell these platform to other airlines and MROs to use their platforms to improve their supply chain thing. So that is one thing which changed in recent years. Nearshoring. So what they are doing is, the big players, they are bringing the smaller suppliers near to them, so that if any geopolitical tension happens, so their supply chain is not affected. So the US is again going back to manufacturing. India is also started manufacturing. China is also bringing all the manufacturing to themselves. They started their local. So their new airline, new aircraft manufacturing called Comac, they are putting everything. Earlier it was all, European or American suppliers, but now they are trying to bring them to China itself to, overcome this. They are called nearshoring. Sustainability is a big thing because everybody is aware they want to be green, they don't want to pollute the planet. So they are asking the big companies to work on, certain solutions which are green, like Wings of Tomorrow, Boeing's eco demonstrator. So they are using processes, materials which are more green and more eco-friendly. So that is what is happening in this side. So that is one good trend which is happening. It will be more and more, eco-friendly in future. They will bring fuels under this. A lot of biofuels will be coming in. A lot of materials which will be lesser, polluting the environment. And operational adjustments. So what has happened is, everybody cannot be everywhere. So if you see G and Safran, they have partnership called CFM. So they work together. So G is a American company and Safran is a European company, and they both, partner, and they have their factories together in Europe, and they manufacture together. So that, reduces the complexity of supply chain. So strategic alliances is also happening. Yeah. Now you understood what exactly challenges are and, and trends are, but what are the opportunities? So digital transformation is one good opportunity where you can see lot of, big players like Airbus, Boeing, Honeywell. A lot of players are bringing in platforms, and smaller players like the, digital solutions, they can work with them, they can partner with them, they can, work together to solve customers problem. And there is where a lot of digital connection is happening. Everybody has a digital ecosystem, like G has an ecosystem, and smaller players can join them, and they can, solve the problems what their customer is having and improving in supply chain. So that is happening. Decentralization of, supply chain is happening. So Boeing is creating a regional manufacturing hub in Europe and Asia. So if you see Boeing, it is investing huge in India, in India, especially in Bangalore. You can see a lot of things coming in. Their design center is here, their manufacturing center and fabrication is also coming to India. G is also started doing it. So decentralization is happening. Everything focused from US and Europe now coming to China and India. So decentralization is also happening. Sustainability, as I spoke, a lot of things is happening, and like AI, IoT, blockchain, they are using every capability, every technology to improve green, in supply chains. They are using RFID, they are using AR, VR, they are using everything, how to get the part to the correct place with the least amount of energy utilized. So sustainability is not only just making green processes, but how to reduce timing and reduce the cost of fuel also. They are going to that level of details. And expansion into markets. So you can see a lot of growth happening in the APAC region, Middle East region, India, especially Udan scheme, Gati Shakti scheme. It is really helping our aviation, supply chain. Earlier, we used to get higher price things. Now, the government of India has reduced the taxes also on MRO and Gati Shakti scheme. So now earlier it was so much complicated. Now, if you want to send some part to, northeast, it was very difficult. Now it is easy. You can go to Bombay port, or you can go to, Calcutta port, and from there with these programs you can easily lift it, and less paperwork. The supply chain is getting more simpler now, and multimodal transport is being used to send up, part from any place to, remote places also. So that is also happening because of this market. Strategic alliances like Safran and G, I gave an example. Because of this, they sold 35,000 engines, worldwide. They are the number one in the world, CFM. So all the aircraft, what you see, every second or third aircraft is from CFM now. It's that scale, and they together did it. And 35,000 aircraft is, engines is a huge, huge number. Now I have already spoken about the trends, but I will give you what exactly has transpired. So what exactly happened with this? So if you see Boeing and Airbus and Comac, the impact is huge. So when they have, started it, they have started committing also that they will be reducing supply chain by 50%, supply chain carbon emissions by 50% by 2025. So that is the promise what their company is telling. So that is happening, and the impact was so bad. They had to change their, deliveries also. If you see the Airbus, the engines were delivered late because of Pratt and Whitney and CFM issues. So even then, their thing was there. So production adjustments were done. So just to overcome that, and then they started doing a lot of digital platforms like Skywise platforms with a lot of supply chain modules. That is what they did to solve this problem. Boeing also had a big problem, supply chain issues. A lot of disruption came and aircrafts were not delivered on time, so they also focused more on digital tools, supplier risk and improvement they did, and a lot of supply chain modules they added into their digital solutions, and that helped them. And Comac, they had a lot of safety issues and production gaps, and a lot of hurdles were there in tariff because of the US and China thing. But what they did differently was that they had partnership with different FDH, Aero and Canio, which started maintaining their supply chain. So Comac is your Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China. They call it as Comac. So integration is very, very important, what you see here, because alone as a company, you cannot solve all problems. So it is the ecosystem where you have to work together. So aircraft manufacturers, they have almost 50 to 100 suppliers. They have to manage, they have to work together on a common schedule, and that becomes very difficult without a proper platform. This is an example of China. I'm just giving you why it is so difficult unless until if you do it. A lot of technologies goes in, a lot of things. So if you see a China Eastern airline, if they want to order an aircraft, lot of thing changes. Everything from cabin to aircraft to testing to certification to cabins. Now if somebody asks, I want only a very quietest cabin, so new materials will be included. If I want a CO2 green aircraft, then a lot of things go into green. So all this thing has to be included into the supply chain, and it becomes very difficult unless until you bring a lot of technology experts and working together, bringing into a complete solution. It takes a lot of time. Aircraft takes a lot of time to manufacture with new what you call a new order comes and says I want all these things. It becomes very difficult. Airbus, I just spoke to you about it. Digital twins, they used it. This is very, very interesting. Digital twins, you have a electronic solution. If your aircraft behaves like this, then you have a digital solution on the left side saying that the aircraft will have these part replaced in 6 months or 3 months. So get into ordering mode, get into a cheaper mode, or whatever you want to do. You tell the maintenance team, you tell the management team, like these are the components will fail or need to be replaced or need to be tested. Whatever it is, everything will have a workflow, and workflow will raise the alerts, and alerts will go to the right people, and right people will start putting red into green. They will have their own systems to order, to replace, to put in testing, then go for overhauling. Whatever it is, everything will come into the so this is all becoming more and more smarter now. So you cannot say that I forgot. It will come to your phone and it will remind you, unless until you take an action. So there are a lot of digital solutions there. You have tabs, you have mobile phones, even in your Apple watches, message will come to you that you have something due. The complexity of Boeing is similar. You can see these 5 models, 737, which is very simple. You will find this aircraft a lot. They have 400,000 parts. Then 767, 3.5 million parts, and 2.3 million parts, 3 million parts, 6 million. So 747 is 6 million parts. That means you can imagine, 1 million is 10 lakhs. So 60 lakh parts, how to manage them itself is a chaos. But Boeing has managed it. You can see below where all their centers and manufacturing parts are there. And it's a very complex structure. This you need a lot of digital solutions. Yeah. So Boeing, I just spoke, they have another company who does the same thing for all the digital tools usage to manage their supply chain, which becomes very, very difficult because as the supply chain becomes. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was in this place. Yeah. So the complexity is very, very important in terms of the size and scale of this, and it cannot happen by few teams. It needs a lot of interventions. especially digital. Future will be more digitally connected technologies, connected, calculations which will happen, a lot of forecasting which will happen. From simple calculations, it will go into quantum computing, and that is where the supply chain would be moving into. Data analytics would be very, very important, because all the roadblocks, all the issues which is there in the supply chain today, there will be a lot of complex models which will be made, and these models will help decision makers to bring supply chain efficiency higher. To see the roadblocks, see the critical issues, predict many problems way ahead, and that is what is going to help. So Boeing has a big analytics team in India, also in Bangalore, which helps in doing that. They have a very good supply chain team, and very good small companies. Even they are, developing small players to help them, solve their problems. So Airbus have their biz labs. They call biz labs. They give problems. They want them to solve those critical things, and they can partner there, and they can come into the Airbus and Boeing ecosystems. Comac, it's like commercial aircraft of China. I spoke. They are also developing in a similar way. Not much is disclosed from them, but soon you will see China becoming a threat to the global supply chain, and the way they are developing and their ecosystem coming up. So this would be, like, now it is duopoly Boeing and Airbus, but soon China would also enter in this market, and they will, bring new things to the supply chain. Let me come to the engine side. Engines, I have informed the similar thing what aviation, airlines, and aircrafts are doing. The engines are connected, because engine people, they have a separate relationship with the OEMs like Airbus and Boeing, and also they have a separate relationship with the airlines who are their customers. So they manage the supply chain from both sides. They supply to the OEMs and they supply to the airlines and MROs. So MROs are the ones who repair the aircraft and they maintain the aircraft. So they have both sides of the supply chain, and they have very good digital solutions, to manage. So they deliver in time, and they have to manage delivery of components in time, because if aircraft is grounded, they call it AOG, aircraft on ground, that huge losses for airlines, and that is what a key challenge for airlines to manage. And a lot of digital solution is need to maintain and manage that AOG. He has a huge digital solutions team. They do a lot of analytics on supply chain and products and parts, and when it will fail, when it will be delivered, what issues are there. Even they have stock thing. How many engine parts has to be stocked, where it is to be stocked. If the engine is repaired in Singapore, what type of stocks are globally available. So everything has to be reduced. If they tell no, today it is not there, in 4 days or 5 days we will deliver you on your site. That type of customer friendliness and customer caretaking is taken care, because every hour they lose, it's a big thing for airline. Their huge losses are incurred. So every company, whether it is tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, they will try to solve their customers problem, and lot of issues are there, lot of solutions can be made there, and it is a very good opportunity. Safran also working together. They also have a big team in India. They have worked very, big way in Europe, and lot of digital solutions they are bringing in, and that is what we see. Honeywell, this is the black box, what you see red thing, they call it black box. So Honeywell has a lot of components like this they offer, and these components are very critical. If it is not there, if anything happens to the aircraft, if the component is having a malfunction, the aircraft will be grounded. You cannot fly the aircraft with a critical component like this. So either you have to replace it or repair it, and repair is not possible, so they replace it as soon as possible. So for that, they have to keep the stocks to repair, or minimum a base should be there with at least few stocks available. So to manage that stock and manage that certification, because these components are certified also, and every year they have to go for a readout service, means everything is readed, so that next time when you use it, it is ready for optimal performance. Otherwise there is a problem. So not only supply chain gives the supply, but you have to maintain that thing, and after maintaining, you have to maintain the certification, the validation. We call it compliance. The compliance has to be managed, and that is a big thing going to be in future, because as you see today aircrafts, tomorrow it will be UAVs, it will be more of unmanned aircrafts, and that needs even more criticality, and that needs to be done. So the component will be miniaturized, less weight, less, but more complicated, more technology driven, more innovation driven. So supply chain will even more become complex. Innovation, I told you about these predictive maintenance, robotics, 3D printing, all those things. But most important, there is a technology S curve which comes in. And S curve is where every time a new technology, whether it is the initial phase or at the mature phase, all the technologies which come today in any industry, aviation tries to, use it for benefiting the supply chain. So everything what you see, AR, VR, AI, chatbots, everything is being used. Actually everything is becoming just from a desktop to hand palm top, everything is coming. So we have ETL, electronic tech log, we have EFB, electronic flight bag, the pilots use it, the maintenance engineer use it, the airline people use it, and then the same data is sent to the OEMs like Honeywell, Boeing, GE, everyone. Same data is shared there also to MROs. So they have a single thing called digital thread. That digital thread is from initial to the final, everything is being tracked. So they can tell you where the component is, when it will reach, how it will be used, what is the usage, when it will fail, when it is to be replaced. So that digital thread is going to be the next in supply chain. um, the challenges and emerging technologies is very critical, but you see, as the data rate is going, all systems would be connected, 5G connected, quantum computing will be there, advanced robotics would be there, artificial intelligence will be in a big way in coming there in supply chain. So these five things will impact supply chain a lot. There is something which we call, if everything is digital, then cyber security should be up to the mark, up to the latest level, because that would be the next threat which is coming to the supply chain. Operational efficiency, yes, there is $1 billion savings people are talking about. There is a lot of reduction in the efficiency improvement, because every dollar what you save for an airline, it's like, couple of dollars for every businesses in the upstream. If you see from the aircraft to engine and everything, so every dollar, it's a $700 billion or $800 billion industry for airlines. So from that industry, every penny is going from that industry to aircraft manufacturing to supply chain. So you can understand how much supply chain has to be. So next it would be, huge boost in ERP systems. So most of the ERP systems will be updated. They will be having a lot of modules which will be interconnected, multimodal. It will be more of the sensor based. All those things will be included in that. Predictive maintenance will be there. Lot of stock out, stock management, stock things will be happening. Lot of things will happen just in time. Everything will happen there. And then real-time data analytics will be there, dashboards will be there, all those things will be there, and these dashboards will be alert based, even for sensitive things. And that will be, making the user and the, decision makers aware of things. They will be having plans and reporting, very very robust reporting would be there. So operational efficiency, cost reduction, and sustainability will be the key impact, things which will impact the airlines and the supply chain together. And a lot of things will happen, a lot of innovations will happen, a lot of small companies, a lot of startups will come in these three areas. So challenges I have discussed, supply chain disruptions and all. So there are different frameworks which people use to overcome these challenges. A lot of companies have their just in case or mitigation frameworks, risk management things. So all these things, they have internal solutions also. They develop, they work with, good companies like McKinsey, BCG, even very good universities to bring these solutions and frameworks. So this is one area they overcome the challenges. Then they have modelings happening for scenario plannings, because this is a big thing for scenario planning when you have a risk, a big risk like war or COVID or any plan. So they have to have some scenario plannings for big companies. So Airbus has their logistic network scenario planning, so they could manage it, seamless parts movement they did. Similarly, cost pressures. So cost pressures is always big, because titanium prices, aluminum prices, these affect the aircraft prices, the component prices, chip design, chip manufacturing, chip raw material. These are all cost which is affecting the supply chain. And technology integration. We know technologies are there, but every component cannot be using the technologies. There are a lot of integration issues. AI, blockchain, they all are looking good, but everyone cannot use it. You need special teams, special expertise to do that. Rolls-Royce intelligent engine is really, really good. And I can give you an example why it is so good. To manage the supply chain, to change the parts, earlier they were time-based parts. After 6 months or 1 year or 5,000 cycles, they will change it. But they made a small robot, and that robot crawls inside the air engine, and they will do the testing there. They will take photos and everything, and they'll bring back. Then they will decide with the modeling, saying that whether this uh, part will be replaced or not. If it is replaced, supply chain will take the decision. Yeah. Finally, I'll give my recommendation is you have to invest in digital technologies. There is nothing called, working in isolation. A supply chain cannot be, just a simple supply chain. It is going to be the most complex, most smart supply chain. And future will talk about huge data of supply chain data moving around. Then it has to be flexible and resilient, both together, because flexibility in schedules, resilient in terms of the orders and in terms of delivery, that has to be there. Sustainability will be a big thing because lot of pressure, regulations are coming for sustainability, to green fuel, to green components, to green processes. And collaboration and transparency, yeah, these are the two things, because if collaborations are within the country or within partners, there has to be transparency on taxes, the laws, the regulations. That also has to be there. And workforce is another thing. There is huge shortage of talented people, especially in supply chain, understanding the technology, understanding components, the hazard practices, the safety compliance. All those will be there big way. Yeah. So thank you, sir, for this opportunity.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think we lost like 5 minutes, Bijuji. So we can talk about some very important things. Okay, so it is very very action-packed presentation. So a lot of content in that. Okay, so you talk about every aspect of supply chain of aviation. So that is something great. Okay, so now
Yes.
with a given like a 3-4 minutes time, let us take up any questions are there. Okay, otherwise, so we talk about uh, what are the key takeaways for supply chain professionals, especially who are targeting for aviation industry. So what is your like a 3 to 4 key takeaways and what you advise them to focus on for 2025 because of this new technology evolution, uh, regulations, business opportunities. So what do you advise, Biju, based on your experience?
First thing is, it's a good opportunity because industry is growing. So there is opportunity for youngsters, especially coming into the aviation side. It's very good. Whether you want to become pilot, whether you want to become technician, whether you become into the supply chain, there are specific supply chain programs also. There is a area where you can go. IATA programs are there. These are the ones. There are a lot of aeronautical institutes which have come in India. Aeronautical Society of India is there. IIM Bangalore is there. So these are the places where you can get specific aviation related courses. You can become an executive in aviation in India. A lot of courses have come up in aviation technology where you can become directly MBA in aviation. So that is very, very good. You have a lot of collaboration happening in aviation from Europe. So and even in America, a lot of universities are coming and setting up things here. A lot of pilot training happening in India. So these are the avenues where you can go into supply chain management, understanding aircraft. There are small certifications also from IATA, ICAO, a lot of places where you can find out in Google today. And that helps young kids to, enter into aviation with a diploma, with a degree, or with an executive program at different levels to enter, from a small entry level technician to an executive in airline or OEM. That is possible. If you are an engineer, you can do small certifications or small trainings in flight schools and go into good companies. That is also, or you can go for intern good companies, GE, Rolls, very good companies, they have very good design research even in India today. So that is also possible. You can learn from there and slowly move into your critical area like supply chain or software related areas in aviation. You can move into manufacturing. So, and even in assembly here in India, a lot of airlines and Boeing and, all are coming up with a manufacturing line today. So yes, it is very good and right time to move into aviation today.
Perfect. So thank you, Biju. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
giving a wonderful lecture. And I think what I admire is you have so many patents in the aviation sector. You worked in GE, you
Yes.
are a GE gold medalist. So it's a fantastic something to hear about aviation industry from you. So thank you, Biju, and
Yes.
thank you very much for
Thank
your.
you all. Thank you, sir. Thank you for this opportunity.
So I take this as an opportunity to thank Biju for joining and giving a wonderful lecture. It's very insightful. So how this aviation industry is evolving, and then what are the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities for all of us. So on behalf of participants, organizers, and others, okay, I thank you, Biju. Thank you very much.